You've probably heard that crazy statistic, right? That something like 90% of all startups fail. It's a pretty brutal number. Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on the entire founder's journey, from that first spark of an idea all the way to the high-stakes roller coaster at the end. We want to understand not just why so many fail, but what it takes to land in that successful 10%. Let's dive in.
Okay, so think about it. Ever had that one idea that just lodges itself in your brain and won't let go? Yeah, that one. Hold on to it, because for the next few minutes, we're going to take that idea and build a whole business around it, right here, right now.
All right, so where does it all begin? Well, every single great company starts with just two things: a person and their idea. This is the origin story. But what kind of person does it take to actually turn that dream into reality? Let's find out. Okay, this slide right here, it hits on a difference that is absolutely crucial. Think of it like this. The entrepreneur, they're the one who dreams up the ship, designs it, and then builds it from scratch. They're taking all the risk of sailing into totally unknown waters. Now the manager, they're the super skilled captain who takes the helm after the ship is built. One creates, the other maintains. You need both, for sure, but they are fundamentally different jobs. So what's pumping through the veins of that shipbuilder? It really boils down to these four things. Risk-taking, that's having the guts to bet everything on your vision. Innovation, that's the obsession with making something totally new or just way, way better than what's out there. Decisive action, you've got to be a doer, not just a dreamer, right? And finally, being goal-oriented. That means you've got your eyes locked on the destination, no matter how rough the seas get. And here's a cool thing to keep in mind. You don't always have to build your own ship from the ground up. Entrepreneurship, that's the classic story, right? Your own venture, all your own risk. But then there's intrapreneurship. That's where you get to be an entrepreneur, but inside a big established company. It's a pretty powerful way to innovate and make a huge splash, but you get to use their resources instead of starting from absolute zero. So where do these genius billion-dollar ideas actually come from? Honestly, it's almost never some magical lightning bolt from the sky. It's usually the result of plain old hard work. We're talking intense brainstorming sessions, really digging deep into market research to find what's missing, and maybe the most important one, just listening. Listening to what customers are actually complaining about. Your next big idea is almost always hidden inside their biggest problem.
Okay, so you've got the idea. But an idea without a plan? That's just a daydream. So now we got to turn that spark into a solid blueprint you can actually build from. This is where the real work kicks in. Every founder needs a toolkit. And for entrepreneurs, it's all about these 7 M's. You've got the obvious stuff, right? The people you need, manpower. The fuel for the engine, money. The tools and tech, machines. And the raw stuff you build with, materials. But then there are the intangibles, and these are just as critical. Time, or minutes, the one thing you can never get back. A place to actually sell your stuff, your markets. And the skill to bring it all together, management.
So how do you actually put all that together? Well, you follow this 4-step path. It's pretty logical. You start with your idea generation. But then, right away, you have to stress test it with a feasibility study. Is this thing even possible? Does anyone actually want to buy it? If you get a yes on both, then you formulate a super detailed project plan. And only after all that do you start mobilizing your resources. See the order? It's key. And this is how you get other people to buy into your blueprint, the investor pitch deck. Think of it as your entire story in a nutshell. It's your business plan, your market analysis, your financial projections, all boiled down into one powerful, persuasive narrative. This is the tool you use to convince investors to give you that money you need from the 7 M's. Speaking of money, let's head down to the engine room of the business. Because finance isn't just about getting a check from an investor. It's about knowing how to read the dials and gauges that tell you if your ship is actually moving forward or just burning fuel and going nowhere. Okay, this is the very first number that every single founder becomes obsessed with, the break-even point. It's that magic moment where your total revenue finally equals your total costs. You're not making a profit yet, no, but you've stopped losing money. You're officially self-sustaining. It's the first real proof of life for your business. All right, once you're past break-even, you've got to start measuring how well you're actually doing. And two of the simplest, most powerful ways are ROI and ROS. Return on investment, or ROI, tells you how much money you're making back for every dollar you've put in. Return on sales, or ROS, tells you how much profit you're squeezing out of every dollar you've earned in revenue. They both give you a vital, instant snapshot of your business's health. So where does all this financial info live? It's all on the profit and loss statement, or the P&L. And honestly, the best way to think of it is as your business's report card. At the end of every quarter or every month, it gives you the final score. No fluff, no spin, it just tells you, did you win or did you lose? You absolutely cannot hide from the P&L.
Building a company from scratch is, well, it's incredibly tough. But the good news is you're not out there all alone. There's a whole ecosystem of support designed to help founders succeed. Let's take a look at who's got your back. You're going to hear these two words thrown around all the time: incubators and accelerators. Here's the simple difference. An incubator is like a greenhouse for a tiny little seed of an idea. It gives you a safe space and resources to help it sprout. An accelerator, on the other hand, is like strapping a rocket booster to a startup that's already off the ground. It's all about intense mentorship and a big chunk of cash to make you grow fast. And it's not just private companies helping out. Governments are getting in on the action too. In India, for instance, you've got big initiatives like the Startup India scheme, which offers things like funding and tax breaks. And then you have agencies like the NSIC and local DICs. These guys offer more on-the-ground support, helping with machinery, materials, that kind of stuff, especially for smaller businesses. So you've got a killer idea, a rock-solid plan, and a whole support system behind you. Success is pretty much a done deal, right? Well, not exactly. Welcome to the final leg of the journey. And honestly, it's the most unpredictable part, the roller coaster of growth, decline, and risk. And trust me, no business, no matter how big or small, is immune to this ride. Every single product, I don't care if it's an iPhone or a pet rock, follows this exact same life cycle. First, you have the excitement of the introduction. Then, if you're lucky, the thrill of rapid growth. Eventually, things level off into maturity. And then, the inevitable decline as sales start to fall. The whole game for a founder is to be smart enough to launch the next big thing before that decline really sets in. So, why do so many startups fail? Remember that 90% number from the beginning? It almost always boils down to one of these three things: poor market research, which means you built something nobody actually wanted; a lack of funding, you just ran out of cash; or inadequate management, basically having the wrong people at the wheel. Just think about all the amazing ideas that have died because they got one of these fundamentals wrong. It's a harsh reality. And when it all goes wrong, the ultimate risk is bankruptcy. Now, this can go one of two ways. In a reorganization, the company gets a kind of second chance to restructure itself and try to survive. But in a liquidation, that's it. Game over. The doors are shut for good, and whatever's left is sold off. So there you have it, the entire founder's journey, from start to finish. We've looked at the DNA of the founder, the blueprint for success, the financial engine room, and the very, very real risks. So now, the only question left is the one right there on your screen. What problem are you going to solve?